the trend is to abstract. So of course, in the modern programming world, the latest flavor of the month is low-code platforms and targeting citizen developers, no-code platforms. How does now low-code has its touted benefits for the enterprise, where Java dominates, is productivity benefits. You end up producing more stuff, the greater output in less time. But one of the unexpected benefits in some ways is if you're producing less code, then that code is easier to manage and maintain on an ongoing basis as well, regardless of who wrote it down the track. So how do you see load code platforms fitting into Java's dominance in the enterprise space? Is there room for both? Is low code going to be running on the JVM? How's it going to fit together, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one, because I've had a number of discussions recently about the low code, no code phenomenon. And there's a number of different takes on it, one of which is, we've seen this before and it was not successful last time around. All the time before that, that's going back to languages that die. Most of those actually fall into the kind of classic waves where people were trying to do this. We also saw a lot of model-driven architecture type stuff in the 2000s. Again, the rationale for that was the same. But at the same time, we should also look at where the success stories are. And actually, there are long-standing success stories. Let's talk about spreadsheets, because spreadsheets are a programming platform. And perhaps it's one of those things that might annoy a few developers who think that they're being very cool by getting into functional programming, to discover that the accounting department in your company has been doing functional programming for longer than you have. Because a spreadsheet is kind of like a pure declarative model. If I'm doing Excel and I'm not using VBA, then actually I've got a very pure programming model there. Now, most people, so here we have something that has a universal adoption. And when we start looking at and we don't think of it as a coding platform, but it has little coding extras. And when we look at how that's been used, then we start getting a feel for how it's going to how this kind of stuff coexists with other development. And I think perhaps the productivity thing is a bit of a red herring. I don't think that's really the issue. I think it is the citizen developer that's the issue. And that's not a productivity question. Spreadsheets did not necessarily boost productivity of an individual or a particular role in a company that was previously previously a programmer role. It's going to allow certain people to do certain things without, they wouldn't even thought of using a programmer or engage, saying, hey, let's talk to software development and get them to do something for us. They would have probably just mashed together a bunch of spreadsheets or a bunch of emails and said, I've copied a link here and done this and that. And so what it's done is it's just given a kind of name to that. It's very much so. I think sometimes when people are looking at the low code option, they're particularly the no code option, when they're looking at it from what does it mean for developers, I think they're looking at it from the wrong point of view. Spreadsheets never stopped people developing. It just opened up the number of people who were using certain applications. Cameras and phones didn't stop professional photographers having a business. It just opened up a different set of possibilities. And I think that certainly the no code aspect, and then nudging into low code, that's much more some people will be coming in from the programmer side, but others are going to be coming in from other numerate disciplines. And I think there's this kind of liminal area when you actually find out where people come from when they end up in software development. You got a few people who went through a kind of computer science or software engineering background, but then you got a lot of people who came through sort of middle territory. They came through the sciences, or they came through business, business with a bit of IT, and they ended up picking up programming and then moved into software development as a whole. But for a while, they were kind of a little bit in between. And that, if you start looking at that as a grouping of people and a set of opportunities, rather than thinking of it as productivity, think of it in terms of people. Who does this benefit? What does it do that is different? Because that's why it might stick around. But it will also show you, and this is the thing that spreadsheets teach us, is most people use spreadsheets to put numbers and shapes. They use it for pretty formatting. So most people do not use the advanced view. There's a few people who really get into formulae. And then there's a few people who are superpower users who get into actually, I'm going to use VBA and stuff like that. So that, again, it's that power law type thing. And that, I think, again, tells you something else about the shape of the adoption and why certain things might stick and certain things might not stick. So I think that when we look at Java and the JVM from that point of view, I don't think it's the Java stuff. It may come about for low code stuff that takes advantage of particular business workflows. In other words, here's a typical business workflow. You get to customize the front end. You're never actually going to see the Java code, but it's all Java libraries. Somebody has provided that. And it's running on the JVM, so you've got this multiple targeting. You can shove this in the cloud really easily without having any deep discussion about native platforms and so on. And so therefore, you've got something that is there. As long as you've got access to those libraries, that's incredibly powerful. So it will continue to be there, but somebody needs to provide that. They need to provide the workflows.